Wealth does not make anyone immune from pain and the roller coaster ride of life. The way we get good at anything is we practice. As we practice, we fail. And perseverance is the ability to get knocked down, standing back up, dusting yourself off, and moving forward. I would like those who listen to this podcast to understand that what we learn outside of college is many times more important than what we learn in college, or at least in the classroom. So what I learned in college was, I learned this also before college, is how to read and how to do basic math. So in life, we have to read. And by reading, I mean that you comprehend what you've read. And more important, actually, than reading and doing math, which I think are really the base, is the ability to communicate and the ability to develop relationships and the ability to understand that the way I achieve success is I help you achieve your dreams. And these concepts are not taught generally in the classroom. These concepts are taught by people we meet in life who mentor us informally, usually. It's usually not a formal process, or books we read that change our lives. And every area in the United States has a library. And now we have the internet. Back when I was
And
younger.
what are some of those books, Frank, that you would say, hey, if you read these 3 or 4 books, they're going to really help you be successful in any walk of life, if you're a business person, entrepreneur?
On the issue of relationships, I think everybody should read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a timeless classic. Everyone should read this book. On the issue of understanding the details of this concept that the way I achieve my dreams is I help you achieve your dreams, is a book written by Robert Cialdini called Influence. It's a book about the concept of persuasion. In my opinion, all human interactions are an exercise in persuasion.
And his further book, Persuasion, is unbelievable. I bought it for all my kids. It's like,
so I recommend both of those books. Both of those books by Cialdini, and then Waken, and then also How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I think that that resilience is an important element of success. I know a lot of people who are smarter than I am, but they're not resilient.
what does it mean to you, Frank? Because I agree with you. And I think it's one of the most important things we can teach our kids.
You've probably heard the word grit. So grit and resilience are similar concepts. Life can beat us up, and it beats everybody up. Some people more than others, because we were fortunate enough to have been born in the United States. As Warren Buffett says, we were all born on third base, to use a baseball metaphor. But even those of us who are born in the United States, we still get beat up. Sometimes we make mistakes with people and we get beat up emotionally. Sometimes we make mistakes with investments and we get beat up by losing money. Hopefully we've learned the lesson of diversification and investment so that the amount of money is painful but doesn't bankrupt us. Wealth does not make anyone immune from pain and the roller coaster ride of life. And perseverance is the ability to get knocked down, standing back up, dusting yourself off, and moving forward. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. They become bitter, which is the opposite of what you need to do when you're resilient. And they don't understand that the knocks and the failures are experiences for learning, right? These things that happen to us are learning moments.
And that's what I tell my kids, that failure doesn't exist if you learn one thing. And one of the things I did with my youngest, I wish I would have done with all 4, was, I'd go pray with my youngest at night. And on like Tuesday, I had a prayer that she just absolutely hated. And we prayed for a spectacular failure week. And on Friday, I would say, how did you fail? And the bigger the failure, the bigger the high five. I hugged her. I said, I love you. When you're failing, you're learning. What did you learn from that? Awesome. That's great. She hated it. But today, she is like fearless because she knows doesn't matter. Like, she's going to learn. And I wish I would have done that with all the.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah. And it's not how, it's like how to react to it. and how you can savor it, because we usually learn more from our failures than our successes, but that resilience is important. I want to go back to another thing. You have a lot of superpowers, but I think you can really help people. When you were at law school, even though you didn't particularly enjoy it, you did have a class with the very famous professor Roger Fisher. Tell us about that, and what you learned from it and what you can teach people about what you learned from him.
Well, on the list of books that I recommend, I would add Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher, which he co-wrote with a professor who he mentored. Uh, I disliked almost every moment of law school. My wife disliked almost every moment of law school more than me. But there was one exception for me. I took a course by Roger Fisher. Roger Fisher has since passed away. But I was in law school from 1989 until 1992. And when I was in my second year of law school, I took a course called the Harvard Negotiation Workshop. And this was a class on negotiation. And the class was based on the principles in this very small 100-page book called Getting to Yes. That was one of the transformational moments of my life. In this class and reading this book, I learned about a type of negotiation called principled negotiation. So most people are positional bargainers. Our current president of the United States is a positional bargainer.
And what is that?
A positional bargainer is someone who begins the negotiation with an extreme position, and some people are more extreme than others. And our current president, I think, is among the most extreme. This is just a style of negotiation.
Here's what he says, like in Gaza, he wants to buy the whole property and build a Trump resort or something like
Correct. Yeah.
right, something totally out of left field.
Yes, or worse. I mean,
Right, right.
and when someone is a positional bargainer, when they're that extreme, no one believes them because they're saying things that are absurd. And so what I learned is, and I'm a principal negotiator, so I like efficiency. It's my personality. I like to move fast. I'm a very fast decision maker. I like to move fast.
We like to get to know fast. If it's going to be a no, don't waste
I
my
like
time.
to get to know fast, or I like to
Right,
get the yes fast. I
right,
don't like to mess around with maybe very long.
right.
So I'm a principal negotiator. So what I do is I negotiate with my cards up. If we were playing a game like poker, in poker, some of your cards are down and some of your cards are up, depending on the style. But I play with all my cards up.
But that means, Frank, that if you're going and when you're negotiating, it's typically very emotional, and in your case, you do a lot of preparation. You're thinking already what's your objective. You're doing things to prepare before even going. You're not just going on cold.
Let's say you and I are going to negotiate. Before we have the conversation, I'm going to think very deeply about what is my alternative if we don't reach a negotiated outcome. That's called the BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Some people call it a plan B. And so before we have our first conversation, I already have my BATNA, my plan B. And it has to be a solid plan B that I embrace and that I support and that I'm willing to pursue. And I have to be
And why is that important emotionally?
because it makes me unemotional.
Right.
And in a principled negotiation, the less emotional you are, the more leverage and power you have. But you have to go to the process of preparation, and you have to think through what is it that you want, and what it is you want becomes your opening position.
And can you give us like just an example that you could make up to make it
So
more real?
I'm selling a house. I'm selling a house. You're buying the house. I'm going to price my house at the price that I'm willing to sell it at. A price that I think is fair. I'm not going to give you a higher price. And what's going to happen is if I truly give the fair price, you're not going to negotiate that price with me. You're going to pay me the amount I asked for. And I'm going to sell the house in a week instead of 6 months.
Right. And if I come in and let's say you wanted to sell it for 250, but I was like pushing, I'm only going to buy it for 200 or 180. What's your BATNA?
Well, in the case of a house, one example of a BATNA is that I stay in the house. Another example of a BATNA is let's say I'm required to move. Let's say I have a job somewhere and I have to move to Idaho, which is far from Florida where I live.
Right.
Or my wife has a career pursuing
Right.
something in Idaho and we have to move. Then my BATNA is I'm going to rent the house. So either I'm going to stay in the house or I'm going to rent the house. Those are two examples.
Got it. Yeah, and it could be obviously more complex if you're selling a business or other type of things.
When I give you my price, I'm going to give you information to help you make an informed decision. I'm going to give you comparables. I'm going to help you get to yes easy. I've done my homework. I'm not just going to give you a number. Positional bartenders do no work, no research. They just throw out a crazy number, hoping that you're going to reach. So they want 500,000, but they want 500,000. But they're going to start at 1 million, and you're going to start at 200. And at the end of the day,
And
you're going to split the
and
baby. And
that's the split the
I want to
difference
avoid
then.
all of that.
So Frank, so you would come in and say, "Hey, look, in the last 12 months, there's been 12 sales in this neighborhood. Here it is. You can see the average of those sales just happens to be
My number.
250, which I think is a fair number. Um, and you would they would get a sense from you that you're being fair, reasonable,
Yes,
you're not hiding anything.
correct.
And if they push you around, which they'll do, they'll see you're unemotional and
I
tell
don't
them
do
like,
the
hey,
deal.
yeah, hey, this is it. And if you don't want it, then that's okay. They'll be, hey, another BATNA is you just keep it on the market longer, and if it's not them, it'll be somebody else.
And what happens a lot of times when you approach life the way I'm describing is people are sometimes confused because most people are positional bargainers. They're a little skeptical that you actually give them a fair price. And what happens sometimes is they leave and then they come back the next day and they say, "Hey, look, I thought about I thought about the comparables you gave me, and I think you did offer a fair price, and that's what I want to pay you."
And you'd probably also have, hey, here's all the work I've done in the house. Here's an estimate.
Yes.
There's no, termites. There's no mold.
So I'm a relationship person. That's one of my values. And I believe that the principal negotiation approach is the best way to preserve and grow relationships.
Right. So another one of your superpowers, which negotiations is one, is I don't like the word networking, but you know a lot of people. If I call people and ask about you in the community, they're going to have good things to say about, oh yeah, Frank, he's a good guy. And if your friends call you, you will help them.
Yes,
But also if you ask people for help and they don't, you know, carry through the way that you would carry through in a relationship, they're not worthy of being in your
I don't
circle.
spend any more time with them. So I think in life it's important to teach our kids that and to internalize for ourselves that you need to be willing to ask for help. Some people are not willing to ask for help. You have to be willing to ask for help throughout your lifetime in all different kinds of areas. But in order to be balanced in life and have equilibrium, you have to be willing to give help. So what I find is that the people who are most willing to give help to others are the ones who are the most enthusiastic about asking for help. And that's because you're at equilibrium.
I I have, as you know, I love helping people. I have like one of the widest networks, but for some reason, I do find it hard to ask for help. I mean, I have a relationship with you, and that, if I need help, I'm gonna call you, but it costs me. And I think maybe the way I grew up and my way my father was in Latin America, you rely on family. I'm getting better at it. Your frame is, hey, you help everybody that's in your network. So then why should you not ask them for help if you need it? But it
Yes, that's
takes,
how I
you got to
view.
be, but there's some vulnerability because, you have to, obviously it depends what you're asking for as well. But another one of your superpowers, I think that you may underestimate and which is vital in life is you're a really good salesperson in a professional way, sales, or just getting what you want in a non-professional way, because you're always selling, whether it's your kids, your spouse. Talk to us about the importance of sales, and particularly also, obviously, you said you had a headphone on and you were calling lawyers all the time. You were getting a lot of rejections also.
Yes.
Tell us about, because you are a really good salesperson, and that's something you need to be good at in life also.
Well, the way we get good at anything is we practice. And as we practice, we fail. And when we do something enough times, eventually we get really good at it. And now, look, there are limits, right? So I could practice being a high jumper, but I'm 5'7", and I'm probably not going to be a world class high jumper. But in terms of soft skills like sales, the way you get good at it is you practice and you accept rejection. So I started my journey selling when I was a teenager. My father, to supplement our family income, would sell cable television door to door. So back in the 1970s, no one knew what cable television was. It was modern technology. No one knew what it was. And so the way it was sold is there were sales teams, most of whom were part time. My father was a part time salesman, literally going door to door and knocking on doors and asking for permission to enter the home to talk about cable TV. And I worked with a company called Dynamic Cablevision, and my father helped me get a part time job there. And so the way I started learning how to sell was watching my father knock on a door and having the person slam the door. And what I learned by watching my father is now we have to walk to the next house. And during that short trip from the house where the door just got slammed to the next house, my father would say to me, if you allow what just happened to affect you emotionally, you guarantee that the next door will slam in your face. So you have to be resilient and you have to be unemotional and you have to accept what just happened. If you don't smile, you have no chance of ever getting in that house. And so when you do that over the course of a few hours, you realize the wisdom in what my father told me. And my father was brilliant to add a negative experience and go to the next house. And it's as though that experience didn't even happen.